Hey, new episode, man.
New episode. So
Still summer series.
So today, time we're going to talk about emerging markets.
My God.
Man, you made me nervous. I don't know what you're going with that. But so this day we're going to talk about emerging markets. Emerging markets are become very popular. What an emerging market is pretty much is an area that people are migrating to. As you know, as humans, we migrate across the world. So at different times, we go to different areas. So we're going to focus on how people are migrating to the southeast. What we notice is a trend of people actually being that since COVID actually happened, we're noticing that you can actually work from anywhere now. So most people are actually now leaving these jobs. Well, not leaving these jobs, but working these jobs remotely. So they're moving to warmer climate. So you don't have to stay in New York because you have a job in New York. Now you can move and keep that income into the new area. So a lot of people traveling to like the southeast.
Yeah.
So they become really popular.
Yeah. So merger, we're not. It's a seller market throughout the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Every market is hot. So we're not trying to explain to you about seller market. It's emerging markets. What I mean by that is markets that are trending in the up than normal.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about right now. Markets that we're going to see that's going to be here and going 20-30% up by next year. Because right now, like Chauncey said, people don't have to live where they work at anymore. People are not going to the office every day. So a guy that's a software engineer work for a New York company doesn't have to live in New York. He can live in Texas. He can live in Louisiana. He can live in South Carolina, North Carolina. As long as he has internet and Wi-Fi, he can do his job. He doesn't have to live in that state. So now you have more competition and more open. So that's what we were going to talk about, some emerging offices, some more emerging markets that we're going to talk about this episode.
Yeah, so with the emerging markets, what you actually was very important is that you want to see the growth. I always tell people that, especially when you're first starting off investing, you want to go into an emerging market because if you go into a market like, let's say, since we're in Miami Beach, if I'm starting investing, I won't start off in Miami Beach because it's too expensive. So like right now, like Miami Beach is definitely the area. Like Brickell is one of the top places that everyone's moving into. I love that area. But what you're seeing is that area has already grown to almost its highest potential so that everyone's kind of going around it. So today we was actually looking at properties outside of Brickell, which Edgewater is the #1 place now that everyone's looking. Edgewater, it has that Brickell feel as far as that young, vibrant crowd, but it actually is that new area that we see over time. It looks as if they're building a lot of new condominiums down there. Like,
are we talking about South Florida, Miami?
Yeah.
When we say Brickell, Edgewater, we're talking about in Miami 305.
Yeah.
That's where we at right now.
So that's where those markets that you're going to see over time that they're going to actually grow is because a lot of those areas have been not untapped. So Edgewater is one of the areas that's growing in South End. Another area too that's very popular, is not my personal favorite, is Hollywood. Hollywood, Florida is an area that's right between Miami and actual Fort Lauderdale. It's about 30 minutes from each way. You honestly it's probably the only place that's in South Florida where the whole entire area, they are very Airbnb friendly. So you don't have to worry about that in that area if you're thinking about Airbnb. But as far as growth wise, they have seen, I think, between a 20 to 30% growth since COVID. And it's constantly going up. What you like about those areas because it's conveniently located and it's kind of like your older area, but then it has that hint of you can get to Miami or you can get to Fort Lauderdale pretty easy. Why I think that's important is because you want to get started, especially as a new investor. I believe that it was great that we started in South Carolina, especially Columbia, because I remember one of my investors coming out of New York. He was like, he left Brooklyn, New York because it became too expensive for Brooklyn. So he came down here, and for South Carolina, it was like buying penny stocks. So he started investing. He started his investment in the emerging area because you don't have a lot of capital starting off. So you want to buy into emerging market to kind of get that road going. So when companies, even big companies, they're looking at that emerging market more than anything. So I like when I'm looking around different areas, I make sure I look into those areas where I think that is potentially going to have growth within the next 5, 10, 20 years. That's very important, especially as an investor.
And that's why we want to focus on emerging markets, because as a young investor, you have to realize that you have to take a little more risk than a regular investor, a seasoned investor like ourselves. Because it's like, as an early investor, you have to see the potential way before. You have to know a town that's coming or a city that's coming before everybody else coming, if you want to get into this game, like how we did in Columbia. We knew that downtown Columbia, we knew that the city's invested $60 million into the city of Columbia. We knew restaurants and downtown life was coming, so that's why we bought a lot of our Airbnbs when older people or people was leaving their home by as is, and now our properties has doubled in value because we had emerging markets. So that's all you have to focus on, like you said, Hollywood, Florida. Nobody knows about Hollywood, Florida. You might live now here in South Beach. You might be looking at South Beach prices, Brickell prices, Miami prices, and be like, I can't get in that market. But like you said, Hollywood, Florida, you might can get it into that market now. And like you said, a year or two from now, that could be the hottest market go right now, because that's all real estate. Real estate is just about opportunity.
And it's trends. It trends. Yeah, it's actually trends.
Seeing opportunity in the market. So that's why if you listen to this podcast, you have to take a little more chances, and you have to go see, like I said, go talk to your commission board, see what's coming, because all this stuff is planned. They just don't build Walmart overnight. They just don't build Whole Foods overnight. Sure. They don't build these apartment units overnight. It's planning. It's planning meetings. It's planning meeting after planning meeting. Commission meeting is a commission meeting. So they're coming for sure. Okay. So you want to make sure that you get into that use that your competitive advantage on getting some things, because as a new investor, you kind of open a lot of stuff. Like I see us, we won't want to buy one or two houses in a certain area. But as a beginner investor, that'd be good for you. But we might be looking for a package of 10 or 20 at a time. So that's what I'm saying. You have to take advantage of emerging markets.
Yeah, because it's hard to get into a market that's already established. Because let's say your growth rate, is about 7%. In like an established market, and you being an actual new investor, what you want is have that higher growth rate so that you can actually see that the potential return on your investment, so that you can take that money and invest more. So I always tell people that, just like when you buy your first house, people always say, hey, I want my dream house. I'm like, no, you want to start somewhere. You want your starter home so that you can take that home and reinvest that money to your next house, the next house. The same way with investing. You want to do emerging markets so that you can take that money and in the next 2 years or double value, take that money out, like we use the BRRRR method, which is buy, renovate, rehab, buy, rehab, refinance, repeat. So you want to have that money, take that money out and repeat. I think that's the key step, is you taking that money out and actually repeating what you're doing. And that's the only way you're going to do it if it's a market that's actually emerging.
Yeah, because we'll be real with y'all, man. If you say you have $50,000, $100,000 and you go to a hot market already, and that, like he said, it goes 7-8%. It's gonna take you a couple of years to actually do that BRRRR method and get your money back. Mm-hmm. And that $100,000 in 2022 is not gonna be that same $100,000 it was in 2025 or 2026. Agree. So you got to realize that just because when your property went up, so that your money went down. Your buying power went down. So you got to realize, you have to look at all opportunities. You got to look at markets that's not there yet, because I mean, God ain't making no more land unless, I don't know. I mean, you got a metaverse and people buying stuff in the metaverse, but physical land, I don't think we're making any more land. So
and I can't live in the metaverse. So I like to do real estate.
You definitely need to find some opportunities on some outside areas. I mean, you could look at bigger cities and go about 20, 30 miles outside, because that's still not a long commute for somebody who works inside the city.
Agree 100%.
I mean, just realize, you will have, if it's a nicer city and they want to, if somebody works in the city and want to get out the city during the time, you can really capitalize on that market.
Yeah, so that's what the biggest thing is, kind of like the emerging markets. So the emerging markets that what we've been personally actually looking into is that, like, like Houston is a growing area.
Yes.
Now, Texas does have some different laws, and you have to be careful with Texas because it's a little different than other places. So you want to make sure that you know your laws, but we see how actual Houston is growing. Yes. Another thing you want to consider with Houston, though, is that a lot of that stuff is below sea level. So you want to make sure that you have proper insurance. Now, we always advocate when you're actually looking at property, you want to know the rule book for the different areas. What apply to Columbia, South Carolina is not going to apply to Houston. What apply to Houston is not going to apply to Miami, Florida. You want to make sure that you know what your zoning laws are, what you can, and what are the local problems in that area. So the emerging markets I say that we're looking into now is, I would say, Jacksonville, Florida is a good one because it's very untapped and it's close enough to down south where that you can actually still experience the beach. You can get to South Beach really quickly. Quincy's in Atlanta. What part of Atlanta is emerging?
So Buckhead is getting overcrowded. It's getting more young professional people move to the city, so it's not more family oriented. So a lot of families are moving outside the city. So like the area I bought in was in East Atlanta, Zone 6. That's a really emerging market right now, Kirkwood, Edgewood's area, because a lot of shops and buildings are coming and it's making it more of a walkable feel. So a lot of families are moving back out to that area because it's about 10 minutes outside the city.
And the airport, isn't it?
And about 15 minutes from the airport, 10 minutes
cool.
outside the city, 15 minutes from Buckhead. So, I mean, houses has increased and then it's getting gentrified now. A lot of older homes was untapped. It used to, I ain't gonna lie, it used to be the hood. It used to be the hood. So a lot of people say East Atlanta, you know Gucci Man. Let's just do this to Gucci Man. Yeah, that's East Atlanta he's talking about. That's what I'm talking about right now. Yeah. It's getting gentrified. That's another area. The Beltline is another bit hot. It's still merging.
Beltline is
it is still merging out there. And I mean Atlanta right now is but now East Point is becoming an emerging market in Atlanta.
At East Point, at one time,
it was
no one wanted to live at East Point.
Tyler Perry built his studios out there.
He did.
And now,
and it's actually cool that Tyler Perry actually, that was the studio that he built. He bought the land, used to be the old Confederate thing.
Yeah.
So a black man owning the whole entire, where the Confederate Armory headquarters were, one of the largest ones. Now Tyler Perry owns it. And Tyler Perry, look, I mean, I think he has he has like hundreds of acres out there that he's putting the whole production in.
It's a whole studio. It's like how LA, their film studios like in Atlanta right now.
Yeah.
And now Atlanta has moved past LA for more filming than in the country. So you got to realize that area, East Point, Atlanta right now, is going to be stars and more people, more celebrities are moving to Atlanta because that's where the jobs are, that's where the media opportunities are. So that's another emerging market that you can check into. So you got to catch some opportunities. You just can't see. I mean, I think it was over $100 million to build the studios out there. I mean, if he's investing $100 million, that's going to trickle down to the real estate.
Agreed.
Nobody's going to build a $100 million studio in the middle of nowhere and it's not going to bring value around it.
Agreed.
So you got to check out those certain things and you got to figure out. I tell people, you from somewhere, figure out where you're from. I mean, we're not asking you to,
reinvent the wheel.
If you live in Miami, you got to invest in Texas. If that's too far, look 60 miles where you at.
And my aunt gives me a really good thing is that when she started investing, she figured out where her core was.
Yeah.
Like where's a group of people that you trust that you can actually do it at. The area that she was staying in was not the area that she actually started flipping homes in. She did it where most of her actual her core people are, exactly. And that's very important. So figuring out who your core people are and making sure that they can deliver, especially when you actually invest in the area that you're not 100% sure. But if you have moved outside of town, let's say you live in LA and you don't have $10 million to do renovation, maybe looking into your hometown, spending $300,000-$400,000 on a house and reinvesting in there may be an actual investment opportunity for you. That's the biggest thing. The name of the game is actually getting started. So you want to be able to figure out these emerging markets because that's where you're going to make most of your money at is emerging markets.
Yeah, and you got to look at deals differently. You're an investor now. Your heart is in your house.
Yeah. And
your brain is in your head when you're investing.
Yeah, and you got to be a visionary.
You got to keep your heart inside the house.
Yeah,
this is investing property. You're not living there.
Agreed.
This house is for you to make money.
Agreed.
This house is not for you to have a family picnics and you come over there and have fun. No, this house is to make money.
Agreed.
So you have to look at it strictly as numbers.
Agreed.
Like 123 Main Street is going to make me $500, $700, $800 a month, and we keep it. If I buy it at this price and put this much in it, and we're going to do this process over and over again. That's how you invest in these kind of situations.
Yeah. Another area that people are actually growing into is Augusta, Georgia. Augusta, Georgia is where the Masters actually held. So that area is actually growing a lot. I know actually like some institutional investors, what we call is people who have cash money. So when these institutional investors, they have billions of dollars and they go into emerging markets as well. Typically, they buy all your new property in these emerging markets because they're planning on sitting on these homes for 5 to 10 years, seeing that growth go up, and then actually taking that, selling those homes for a higher value. Then they actually normally hedge fund investors. So what they're doing is they're taking this money out of stocks and real estate, and then stocks, and putting it into real estate because they feel as if that they're going to get more return on this real estate and this asset within the next 5 to 10 years. So they're strategically going after those emerging markets. So a good strategy, what you can do is kind of like those sites like Open Door. If Open Door which is a real estate site that buys home, is kind of similar to like Zillow, but they actually buy the home. If you put an address in that Open Door may be in that market, that is probably a very good indicator that it actually is an emerging market because they're coming to markets that are actually emerging. Like I was surprised to see that it was in Charlotte for a while, which Charlotte I think is number 3 now in the nation as Charlotte, North Carolina, as to actually people are moving to. So, but they're in Columbia, South Carolina now. They're making a presence. They've been there about a year. So that tells you that you're definitely seeing a lot of actual activity going in those areas.
And also, I know we love Airbnb, we like the short term, but if you don't want the short term, long term, the way you can figure out about emerging market is just make yourself the renter. Say, hey, if I'm looking into a market, like I'm looking in Augusta, Georgia, let me see if I can rent a house. How hard is it me to find a rent a house? Like you the renter, you call property management companies, you go rent.com, and then you can kind of gauge, okay, you see an average like 3 2-bedrooms going for $1,500. Then you can say, okay, if my mortgage is going to be $800 a month, and I'm going to have a property manager, you can kind of back your way into a positive cash flow that way, so you can kind of learn the market that way, so you can know what your budget is and what you can put into the house. So you can that's just an hour worth of research. Just call a property management company. Hey, I'm trying to rent a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in this zip code. What do you have available? You realize, man, there's nothing available out there. The market is really limited, and then that's when you can say, okay, we can go ahead and we can do that game as well. So you can kind of back into it. Like I tell people all the time, go to Airbnb and put the address you're trying to Airbnb in and see how much per night people doing, and you can kind of get a general information on that.
It's actually a really good idea. I always tell people, I was actually talking to a friend of mine, we were talking about investing. It's so simple, is that you're just doing the numbers. There's no emotional attachment, it's no mom, it's not, I'm gonna sleep here every night, is it good? Does the numbers add up? Like when you back into it and figure out all the numbers from A to Z, does it cash flow? That's what my biggest thing is that does the property that we're buying cash flow? That's how you can actually determine if it's actually a good property or not, if it cash flow. If the numbers don't work out, don't try to make the shoe fit, dump that property, go to the next, because when you're doing investing, the biggest thing that you always want to worry about if it's cash flows.
And always do worst case.
Always. I'm always conservative with my numbers.
Don't try to overflate the numbers to make it seem right. No, I need you to make sure I put property management fees in there. Like we're not telling you that you need to touch this property. You need to put lawn care fees in there. You need to put light bill in there, water bill. Because
I think the good thing is take you out of it.
Act like you as a renter and what it's going to cost you as a renter, so you can know what you're going to cash flow.
I could come and do the maintenance. No, I'll take you out of it. If I hire a maintenance company to come and do it, make sure you actually add those fees because you want this thing to run as a system more than anything.
You want to make sure that you rather have time to have 10 investment properties instead of you self-managing 3 investment properties. Okay, so look at that. This is make sure. Walmart, you don't see Waltons running Walmarts. They own the board. They don't even run the company.
It's funny you say that though, because I was thinking that in my head just now. My dad always said, he was like, when I say something, he like, think Walmart. Walmart get you $1 here, $2 here, $3 here. So what Walmart does is actually scale. They scale their business so that by the time you leave there, you just spent $200. And you don't know what you purchased, but you went across the store. They got 50 cents here, $1 here, $2 here. And by the time you got finished with it, you actually spend $100. So that's what you want. You don't want just 3 rental properties. The whole name of the game, so that you can actually start making more money and creating wealth and cash flow, is that you want to scale that business to where it needs to go. Yeah. So that's what you want to do with real estate as well. No emotional attachment. If the property cash flow, do the numbers. If the numbers don't work out, dump that property, go to another one.
Yep, but the key thing I want y'all to take from this episode, we trying to really get y'all to understand is, I hear a lot that it's a seller's market. When say I can't find no deals and I can't get in this game. No, let me tell you something. I don't care if it's a seller market, a buyer's market, a bull market, a bear market, a chicken market, a monkey market. I don't care what y'all call it these days. I'm going to find me properties.
Agreed.
Okay. Now you have to work a little bit harder and try a little bit harder. But trust me, it's still good deals out there. It's still opportunities you to get these deals. Okay, so you need to make sure you gotta take a little risk and you gotta be a visionary. That's what I'm saying. So you gotta go ahead and try it and things like that. But like Chauncey say, it's no emotional. You go ahead and it's easy. If I'm gonna bring $1,000 a month, this my mortgage, this my property taxes a year. Please put property taxes in there, people.
Another good thing, that's a tip for South Carolina, you better make sure your area, like North Carolina, the tax rate does not change from your primary resident to your investment resident. But South Carolina, it changed from 4% if it's your primary to 6%. Make sure you know those laws and those calculations when you're calculating it.
It's double.
It's really important.
It's you don't think 4 to 6%, it's just double. So
yeah, it's on your millage. It's not on just the numbers, actually on the millage.
Yeah, so if it's $1,000 for primary, this budget for $2,000.
Yep.
Because it's gonna double, and you need to have that inside your
calculations.
Expenses, because you have to write that check. Because normally, an investment property loan don't make you escrow taxes and insurance.
Yeah, so no, that's what the biggest thing is, kind of figuring out those emerging markets. That's where you guys, as far as investors, are going to actually find property. I don't care if you're a beginner or you experience it. Everyone's looking at emerging markets. So we gave you some of our emerging markets that we've been looking into. If you want more information about emerging markets, definitely just let us know. Definitely make sure you like us on Facebook, Instagram, definitely Spotify.
And make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel,
yeah,
please.
That's very important.
So y'all hit that notification button right here. Make sure y'all get notified for all the videos, all the comments. Like you said, follow us on IG. I'm Q_ my real estate mistakes. Chauncey my real estate mistakes, and our main page, my real estate mistakes, on IG. We answer every question. We talk to everybody. There's no dumb questions. There's no hard questions. We kind of explain to you. If something went over your head on the episode, we'll gladly reach out to you and give you the answer.
Our biggest thing is making sure that you're educated. We want you guys to take our experience that we have done and all the real estate market that we have did, all the experience. Between both of us, we've been in real estate 16 years on different things too.
Yes,
so his strength, my strength together, we want to help you guys and actually show you guys that if we can do it, definitely y'all can do it.
Because our goal is, it's no fun if we just do it ourselves, man. I love to see more young minorities in investment, man, have confidence and talk about our struggles and our success and our accomplishments, man. So, man, we do this. I mean, we do this out of goodness of our heart. We pay for this stuff. We do this. We get this free game because it's enough for everybody, and we're not trying to hide this information from you guys. And if y'all know some things, we always
elaborate too.
Yeah, we always learn it too. So I mean, y'all can drop some comments. You're like, hey, y'all ever thought about doing this?
Yeah, we're a sponge. I always say that.
We know everything, man. So if y'all know some things, let us know.
All right, my real estate mistakes include emerging markets.